Welcome to The Glitter Effect, a podcast dedicated to shining a light on the movers, shakers, change makers, and all-round living legends of our communities who are making a real difference. Today on The Glitter Effect, I'm delighted to be joined by Roni Millard, the founder of the Wellbeing Edge. Roni has spent almost 3 decades in senior leadership roles in large global organizations, working in marketing, sales, and transformation. From the outside, it looked like a successful career, but behind the scenes, like so many high-performing professionals, the pressure and pace eventually took its toll. After experiencing significant health challenges, Roni stepped back and began to ask some big questions about work, leadership, and well-being. And that journey ultimately led her to create what she is spreading glitter in today, the Wellbeing Edge, where she now helps individuals and organizations understand how to perform at their best without sacrificing their health, energy, or sense of self. And through speaking and coaching and sharing her lived experiences, Roni is helping shift the conversation around well-being in the workplace. And in doing so, she is spreading a heap of glitter along the way. Roni, welcome to The Glitter Effect.
Oh, thank you, Kate. Thanks for having me, and thank you for the lovely intro.
Oh, that's good. I know there's more to come, so we're jumping straight in. Before we talk about the incredible stuff that you have been doing at Wellbeing Edge, can you take us all the way back to the start as to where your career started before you launched Wellbeing, and tell us what first drew you into leadership and those high performance corporate roles that you have made your career out of?
So originally born in Cairo, Egypt, and then came over to England when I was 2, and then my whole sort of schooling and university and delving into the corporate arena. I've just loved marketing and storytelling and leadership, and found myself managing a team at a pretty sort of youngish age. But I found my love for helping others as well. So leadership came really naturally for me as I started to climb the ladder. And over the 30 years, I have loved every part of my career. I've done not-for-profit, I've done financial services, banking, legal tech, and I have always, as part of that, as I said, just loved the marketing and the sales side of things. And then in the last 10 years, my husband and I migrated over to Australia. So that's where we are now, in Sydney, Australia. In the last year or so, I launched the Wellbeing Edge, which is the next sort of transition from corporate arena and all things high performance and leadership into another type of leadership, which is my health and wellness business.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I can't believe 30 years. You don't look old enough to have 30 years experience. I'm just saying. And so before we delve into more information about, or more detail into the Wellbeing Edge, looking back now, which has obviously led you into where you are now, what have all those 3 decades of working in those spaces that you mentioned, what have they taught you about people and leadership and the pressures that a lot of professionals quietly carry in their day-to-day life?
Oh God, it's such a big question, and a really insightful one. I think over the years, I was addicted. I just loved the pressure. I thought the pressure was a privilege, and the higher I climbed up the ladder, the more important I felt, because of the responsibility, obviously, that comes with that, the pay packet, all of it. And I think the places where I thrived were those places where there was a lot going on. It was the BHAGs, it was the KPIs, it was the commercials. I started getting involved in the commercials, the net profit, the EBITDA, the revenue, and all the acronyms that come with it. And you've got people that you're responsible for, and it was just, wherever I went, the cultures that had me invested and had captured my attention were those ones where there was just a lot to do.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I would go above and beyond. I would go the extra mile, and I would have that with my teams. It was that type of culture where I just thrived. And I guess over the decades, what good leadership means, and sort of in answer to your question, where there's always pressure and there's always things to do and there's always commercials. We know that with commercials, there are targets to be met, and there are investors and shareholders and all the stakeholders that you're responsible for. It's very clear what those things are and that they need to be met. But I think what I did along the way was, whilst my leadership evolved, because as I said, I love looking after people. I love mentoring people. I love having a positive increase on them. The fact that because of me, people that I'm responsible for would have improved in their own output and development. But I think along the way, what I would have done in hindsight is I would have taken a different lens on leadership, and it comes with good leadership. It's not just the person coming into work to fulfill their duties as a corporate citizen. It's the fact that they are still people, they're your mother, father, grandfather, whatever it is, but their health and wellness is part and parcel. And if you get that part right and you look after them from that element, then the productivity will soar as a natural result. And I think that's what I've learned the most over the last decade, for sure.
Yeah, that's very valid point. So do you think that you've got to that point, and I think a lot of people are changing their viewpoints of what leadership or good leadership is, just because we've recognized as a society as well that you're not doing the best you can do if you're there at 7 a.m. and leaving at 8 o'clock at night. Doesn't necessarily mean you're a really good leader or good at what you do. We're recognizing that mental health and our own health is becoming more important to manage to be a good leader. Do you think that's part of it as well?
I do. I absolutely do. I think that my lens now, because of what I went through, because and maybe this is the right sort of part of the conversation to mention is, I was diagnosed with cancer in 2020, but the cancer was the kind of the final straw that broke the camel's back, because I had been ill over many years previous to that.
Yeah.
From osteoporosis at the age of 39 to high cholesterol, anemia, fertility issues, miscarriages, and all those things up until the cancer. They were warning signs, because I was working too hard,
Yeah.
because I wasn't focusing enough on my own health and wellness. Again, because I loved what I did, I was so addicted. I just had no time to be self-aware and self-reflective over what my body was literally screaming out at me, to slow down, to put in boundaries, to not have to work. No one was, like working crazy hours, only on 6 hours sleep, 4 sometimes, not eating right, not exercising, because it was all about how many meetings can I cram into my day, how many things can I do for the organization that I work for, but nothing about me, nothing to fill my own cup. And so when I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2020, that was the wake-up call, which is, you are literally killing yourself. And it is not a badge of honor to be sending 1,000 emails up until 1 or 2 o'clock. It's not okay to not invest in yourself. And so I think, to your point, Kate, which is, whilst I thought I was being a good leader, and I loved my team, I loved all my teams, and they would say that I would have done anything for them. But because the health and wellness element I wasn't focusing on that. And so I wasn't role modeling. I wasn't showcasing that it's okay to stop at a certain time and just switch off and reset. And also, since my cancer, since the breast cancer, I've become a better leader, because I've become so insistent on making sure that my team do take their lunch breaks, or do take time and feel that they don't have to respond, after certain times in the day. Of course, there are moments and, times where pressure needs to be, on, and you need to be delivering. But the key is that it's not a consistent thing. It doesn't become a pattern where it's always on, because that's where the burnout occurs. And I think I'm so much more compassionate and empathetic, because I do check in now with my teams to say, how are you? What's going on at home? If you do feel comfortable sharing, it's just those different types of questions, right? That you just ask, and you appreciate that your team members or your partners, whoever you're working with, they come with things that have happened at home
Yeah.
overnight. They may be caring for somebody that's unwell. They may have their own appointments to go and see a specialist. They may be trying for a baby. There are 1,000 things that we all carry.
Mm.
And I now am much more dedicated and committed to creating safe spaces where anyone I work with feels that they can open up and share honestly, so that they can be their best selves. And it was all because I got ill that I'm able
Yeah.
to just have that lens now.
And look, and sometimes it is that my husband and I call them life humps. Those dramatic life road humps are there to give you that warning for whatever it is. And, some people have bigger road humps than others, and it's whether you
Yep.
actually take notice of them, right? And clearly, as you said, that was yours. I'm assuming health wise now, everything's good as far as you're
Yes.
cancer free. And
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Yeah, everything is great. And the gift is that I'm the healthiest I've ever been, but it's because of the discipline. Like every single day,
yeah,
it is discipline in terms of what I eat, how I sleep, what I exercise, the movement, even the friends, that I have in my circle. Like every part of the wheel of life is invested in, and that same discipline that I had for my career is now overlaid on every other part of my life.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And also part of that comes with, unfortunately, age and wisdom, doesn't it? It's when you're younger, you have that sense of invincibility. And as you say, you strive and you want more because you can give more. But I think, when the older you get, the more you realize that time is precious and that you need to just refocus. And yeah, it doesn't change the outcome. In the sense that you're still doing your work and what have you, but the whole journey can be very different, right?
Exactly. And I always say now to the organizations that I work with, or the teams that I partner with, my work now is about educating. It's about saying you can still be a high performer in the workplace. Don't, sort of decrease your standards. But it's about how can you optimize, the health and wellness of each individual so that the two can go in tandem. You don't have to dilute your own health and wellness in a bid to be your best self at work. It's a myth, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. So you've touched on, you were talking about the Wellbeing Edge, which is what you've created. Um, Talk to me about and tell me at what point that idea came about in your health journey, and when you set it up, and obviously why you launched it is what you've already told us. But if there's anything else, why you launched it, who it's aimed at, and what it's all about.
So the Wellbeing Edge has been going for about a year now, and I just never wanted to waste a crisis. As I started to heal after cancer, and that took years. That took
Yeah.
5 years to really heal. And I'd been working as a CMO at various organizations, and then with a change in that career path, I just thought I love helping people. Like, as I said, that's my gift, where I can really kind of give something back. And I thought, well, what do I want to do? I felt like I hadn't found my purpose yet, my why.
Mm.
And so I really started to think about, well, what are the things that I love doing? Helping people, having them be better versions of themselves. I love storytelling, that creative side of marketing. And I want to work for myself. I was just so done with working for corporates, especially with, some of my experiences with corporates have been feeling psychologically unsafe. I've had a few sort of challenges in that area. And I thought, well, how can I just, I'm never one to be a victim. I'm always one to think, well, things are happening for me, not to me. And then I thought, well, why don't, I was made redundant from my last role. And I thought, how do I, live my purpose? And what am I going to do? And so I thought, well, just jump in, just be brave, just be all those things that I've always said to my kids about thinking about where the opportunity lies. I thought, yeah, the Wellbeing Edge, health and wellness, all the lessons that I've got, all the insights that I've, like just, going from the bottom of the barrel when you think, am I going to survive this cancer? It's pretty scary stuff. And I thought
Mm.
I've got so much to share with people, so much love and compassion. I want to wrap my arms around, I know it sounds lofty, but I do. I want to wrap my arms around the world. And for those people that might feel that they're not strong enough to come out of a traumatic event, be it a health issue or be it, a traumatic life event, I just want to help. And so what better way than to do what I'm doing now, which is where I go into corporates and communities, all types of different organizations, and I support them. The commercials are important. We all understand that. But how do you get the best out of your people? How do you make workplaces safe so people feel that they can share what they're going through without being penalized? Um, so it's been an amazing year, not without its challenges, but I am certainly starting to make a dent. I'm the change that I want to see. I'm certainly not sitting back and hoping things will unravel and change in a positive way. I'm being that change. And it's been wonderful. The buzz that I get, the just the kick that I get from talking to audiences and partnering with CEOs and HR departments and all the C-suite to kind of give them that, I guess, the avenue and the means of supporting their staff.
Mm.
Because what better way, right? We're all human. No one deserves to go into an organization and have to compromise their health for a paycheck. No one deserves to go into an organization and feel unsafe
Mm.
for whatever reason. And I think because of my lived experiences, it resonates more because I'm talking you know, from that experience as opposed to theory. So I feel very blessed that I've been able to turn what happened to me around for the help of the masses.
And do you think that because you saying that with your lived experience, that helps you when you're talking to these CEOs to try and get them on board as well? It's not you with just a plan and an outline. Not saying that people can't do it, but that lived experience gives you that sort of that edge, doesn't it? I suppose. Do you find that people are more receptive as soon as they hear your story?
1,000%, a
Yeah.
1,000%. And the conversations that I have after a workshop or after a presentation, I've had people have sort of tears in their eyes and say, "Thank you so much. I can't believe that it feels like I'm hearing my own story."
Mm.
When I talk about trying to get pregnant whilst keeping up a position, an executive position, because I was the breadwinner, fearing saying I've got fertility issues and I don't want to say anything because, I might get blacklisted or I might get passed over for somebody who's not trying for a baby or,
Yeah.
and even the cancer, how do you maintain your job whilst going through treatment? Um, how do you identify what psychologically safe and workplace actually feels like? And so when I talk about those things, there is no hidden agenda. It's lived and raw experience, which really resonates because people think I can trust her.
Yeah.
I know that she is not just compassionate, but she's empathetic. And there's a
Mm.
difference, right? Because being empathetic tends to mean that you have been there, you've been in those shoes. And so I feel really strongly about righting wrongs. And it's not finger pointing, it's just systematic. A lot of it
Yeah.
is systematic,
Yeah.
right? So why not, again, why not be that change as opposed to going with the flow or hoping against, against the wind? I'm very action orientated and I think I'm taking all of those wonderful lessons I learned in the corporate, and now using it to not just help the investors and the shareholders and all those, things that
Mm.
keep the corporate world ticking, but actually helping people to live long and happy lives. That's ultimately what it comes down to. The less stressed you are, the less burnt out you are, the less unhappy you are, the more you'll live a long life and a happy life,
Oh,
and a fulfilled life.
yeah, and the better the person you are then
Mm,
as well, isn't it? That
exactly.
balance. And do you work with women and men?
Yes, I do work with a lot of women. I work with Business Women Australia, which is this wonderful organisation all about empowering women at whatever life stage they are, to live their best lives. So there's lots of great activities that occur there. So I sit on the marketing committee for BWA, but I mentor also for Women's Resilience Centre to help women rebuild their lives after domestic violence.
Mm,
And then I coach women executives as well. Again, because as women, whatever life stage you're at, just understanding whether you're transitioning into a new life stage, whether I don't know, your kids might have left and you're an empty nester, for example, or you might want to become your own boss, or you might be struggling to raise a family. There are so many different layers to being a woman. And again, having gone through a lot of those challenges, as you want to remain high performing in the
yeah.
corporate arena. Yeah. So there's a lot of I work with men and women, but yeah, there is a strong part of my business where it's women orientated for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's so good. You already said the sorts of things that people when you do a presentation or you go into a workplace, the responses you get from people. What keeps you going? What makes you get up every morning now and go, I want to do that again, rinse and repeat?
It's just the aha moment in people. It's the shift.
Yeah.
It's the it's the fact that I've made someone feel that they can not just reclaim, but claim their power back.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel helpless, or a lot of people don't know what they don't know. And my kick is helping people wake up and be conscious in their life. When you think about how many people wake up in the morning, right? What do? Are you conscious, or are you just going through things subconsciously? So, the same pattern of waking up. Do you make your bed? Do you brush your teeth in the same way? Do you have a shower? Like, what's your routine? And so, what I'm about is kind of getting people to literally wake up and be more conscious at their own life. Like,
Yep.
literally, when you do that and you make decisions consciously throughout the day, that's when you can start to live more healthily and more well,
Mm,
so that you do have that life where you want to be proud that you're living in your own skin, right? You love your
mm,
life. And it's so sad how many people I speak to who are laden with sort of worry and, anxiety and, job challenges or personal challenges. And really, my tick and my thrive is helping people understand that they are accountable for their own health and wellness.
yeah.
And that it's really simple how you can live the life that you want. It's not doom and gloom. It's not kind of just going with the flow. You have the power.
Mm.
We all do. We all have the power to live the life that we want. It doesn't need to be the dream that you're kind of looking over and thinking, I wish I could live. It doesn't have to be that way. So that's where I thrive, is showing people how that's possible.
That's so good. And do you see that because in years gone by, there's been a bit of a stigma, and I suppose it's been looked in a negative way. If you don't perform at that high level, it's a sign of weakness or you're not made for the job, but not taking into account all of those other factors you've just mentioned. Do you think now that with education and more being concerned, particularly at schools, I mean, kids talk about mental health and well-being and gratitude and everything. Are you seeing a shift in workplaces in that sense, in the language that they're using, and that it's not actually that hard to talk to workplaces because they're quite receptive to it? Or are you still seeing that there's a little bit of a barrier to jump over to get to some places?
That is a really good question. Look, I am seeing a shift. Um, and speaking honestly, it's a small shift in the right direction. There is a long way to go. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of organizations that I'm talking to that are very curious and very interested and want to do the right thing. So they are dipping their toes and feet into this whole world of health and wellness, because it is a shift. If you
Yeah.
are going to do it right, it does change how you operate as a business 1,000%. And there's no shortcuts.
Mm.
So it's not just the one workshop. It's not just the one survey, pulse survey. It is a systematic shift, like even health and wellness from a psycho-social safety perspective. Work Safe Australia has, a number of psychosocial risks that every company should be. If you are responsible for people, you should understand what those risks are and how to prohibit them,
Yeah.
so that you are looking after the psychological safety of your staff. Now, that's one element of health and wellness. Now, to do that and to do it well, yes, you need the right people, the right leaders to assess what do they need to do and make sure that to put it in place, it's done well. But what that means then is looking at job descriptions. Are they
Yeah.
ambiguous? Are they not?
Yeah.
What does workload look like? How many people are taking off their days, their mental health days, or even their normal holiday days? How are leaders communicating? How often are people coming up with, I don't feel, like discrepancies and differences of opinion?
Yep.
There are so even that in itself, when you bring that up, that is a whole mental shift, and it
Mm.
does need a different way of working. And some companies aren't ready for that, right? Because they see it as an afterthought.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't see it as part and parcel. So whilst there are definitely the right conversations happening, and there are conferences right now and there are events, but it's really the leaders and the the people responsible at the top.
Mm.
How welcoming are they to opening up their conversations, so that it is putting their arms around what health and wellness actually means? And it's a long game. It's a
Yeah.
marathon. It's not a
Yeah.
sprint. And I think because some leaders get worried about their own jobs, right? What if,
Absolutely.
yeah, is it distracting? Is it going to hurt the commercials? What? But it's it's being brave enough to have those conversations and knowing that ultimately the end game is the one. Because if you're not doing it right in the start, you're going to have the burnout, and the
Yeah.
burnout is going to lead to workers' comp. It's going to lead to increased absenteeism. It's going to lead to more hospital appointments or people just not feeling right, and that's going to hurt the commercials.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's can you yeah, you can see how layered it can be.
It's too,
And
but it's
mm,
also, I suppose, it's getting to that point where it's organizations are embracing it's not an extra thing to do. It's
yes.
part of the organization, and it's who they are and what they offer as any employee or any team member. So but it's just shifting that mindset, the language, and like you say, it's the same with anything. It's a slow burn, but gee, come a long way in a short time, and it's looking promising. A lot of work for you to do still, but keep chiseling, because I think you're doing an incredible job and leading the way in what you're doing. What's next on the horizon for Wellbeing Edge? If you've just only in your first year, you've obviously got some grand plans.
Yes, well, the grand plan, and I'm doing a lot more speaking engagements at the moment on psychological safety. That's taking up a fair bit of my time, presenting to organizations, from government organizations to corporates and education schools. Educating the employers as well as the employees. And then health and wellness. So health and wellness, and how to make sure that, again, that wellness isn't diluted in a bid to be your best self at work. So between those two, I'm sort of going to different dates, and I'm just loving it, like talking to the legal profession, for example, and lawyers and practitioners and, who we know are laden with, working over hours and all the
Yep.
mental health issues that they're having to run with. But then, going to government and councils, I'm doing a lot of work with them, because again, what they're, they're supporting the Australian ecosystem, right? You think
Mm,
about all the different
absolutely.
layers of councils and governments. So I truly, truly feel so blessed that I've been able to turn my crises with the health issues and the psychological unsafe, just so I'm so grateful. You used the word gratitude, Kate, before. I'm so grateful that I'm able to continue to, yeah, just be that change, and that corporates and other communities are listening. So I'm starting to really find my groove. And yeah, just yeah, I can't say it enough. Be the change I want to see. I'm just so committed. I just don't want anyone to go through what I've gone through. It's so
Yeah.
yeah, it warms my heart.
Well, your energy is contagious. I can tell you much. I can see you'd be a huge hit in every organization. And if they haven't got you already, they need you. Um, right, a little bit more lighthearted now. We call this the glitter effect because I firmly believe everybody has a pot of glitter that they can spread. They need to find their purpose and spread it with heart. But in order for us to get to the point, we have people along the way that inspire us, who I like to refer to as glitter royalty. Who's been your glitter royalty that have got you through to today? Who inspired you at different points of your
Oh,
life?
that is a great question. I'm gonna continue to be truthful. So my husband is my first inspiration. Tim, when I got sick, I mean, before then we've known each other since we were sort of 21. But just he's the one that got me into Spartan races and the exercise and the ice baths and the sauna. I mean, when I was at my lowest, he is the one that, pulled me up and told me that it was going to be okay with hard work and discipline. And he continues to be my muse, to this day. So he is definitely my shout out for just high standards and discipline and knowing that everything is earned, not given. That's the motto that we follow. And then he's deceased now, but Bob Proctor, he is this motivational speaker. He is a guru on all things sort of the millionaire mindset. And he speaks, his workshops and all. I mean, if you Google him, his ability to build from within, I've really taken that on board, is when you have a strong moral compass, when you have your values honed in, your decision making and your behaviors, everything comes from that. And just his way, when you are strong from within, your external replicates what you're feeling from within and you attract. He's all about, the universe, and what you attract is so linked to your mindset and what
Mm,
you allow in. And he's been a huge source of strength for me. So yeah, those two are, I would say, my top two.
I love it. And it's such a hard question because there's so many people, but I love that. I love that. And last, tying up now, just before we finish up, if someone is listening and they're feeling stuck or in that burnout stage or a bit overwhelmed or just even questioning what direction they should go in, what's one piece of advice you'd give them to take that first step back towards their well-being?
Um, Yes, great question. You know what? Just to simplify it, I would say, what does good look like? Like, actually, if you in whatever 2 years' time, just put a time span on it, what does good look like? What's the goal? I know it sounds very 101, but some people struggle when you ask them that. So it's really taking the time to understand, what do you want? And it's such a big question. But
Mm,
once you can label it, once you can identify, well, in 12 months' time or 24 months' time, I want a life that has me doing XYZ. That then uncovers a whole host of things, because then you can start to work out how you're going to get there. So without a goal, it's futile because you don't know and give yourself time. That's what I would say. Give yourself time to really think about it. It might take you a month, might take you a day, but that's how you get to what your purpose is. And something as simple as just even figuring out what's draining your energy now and what fuels you, that might be a step before if you're struggling to figure out what your why is. So one column, what energizes you? It might be running, it might be team building, it might be, I don't know, being with your partner, being with your kid, like whatever it is, what energizes you? And then in the other column, what depletes you? And it might be a job, right? It might be that one person. It might be the food that you eat. Just get your columns down and maybe start with that if you don't know what the answer to the question is, where, what does good look like? And then just, join the dots from there. So probably those two bits of advice just as a starter, not to overwhelm anyone that's listening. Your energy drainer and your energy fueler. And then you can work out potentially from there what it is that you want to do. What does good look like for you in a year or two?
Great advice. I love that. And the last question, the easiest one, if people want to find out more about you or the Wellbeing Edge, where do they go?
Love this question. So wellbeingedge.com is my website. And then if you want to follow me on Instagram, I've just started with Instagram, so Roni.Millard. But yeah, get in touch. I would love to help, as I've said a million times on this wonderful podcast. So yeah, get in touch. Nothing is too small or too big. I'd love to hear from you.
Amazing. Millard, thank you so much for your time today on The Glitter Effect. You are truly a glitter queen, and I'm absolutely thrilled our paths have crossed and we finally managed to get this interview done. It's been a long time coming. But what really stood out from our conversation is the reminder that success and well-being shouldn't be competing priorities for anyone, no matter what role is in your organization or in life. And when people feel supported and understood and are able to bring their whole selves to work, then that's when they truly thrive. By sharing your own experiences and dedicating your time to helping others rethink the way they approach work, leadership and well-being, you are absolutely spreading glitter everywhere. And not just in workplaces, but it's in the lives of the people you reach and beyond. So well done. You are doing, it's an admirable thing you're doing, and I applaud everything you're doing. For anyone listening, I hope today's conversation has encouraged you to pause, check in with yourself and think about how you might bring a little more being and a little more glitter into your own life and the lives of those around you. Ron, thank you so much again for joining me on The Glitter Effect. All the best for everything that's coming up, and we'll keep in touch. Take care.
Oh, thank you, Kate. You're amazing. Thank you. Keep spreading the glitter. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me, Kate Ganneil, on The Glitter Effect. If you've loved this episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep showing up, making an impact, and sprinkling that glitter wherever you go. Bye for now.